אח שלי, את רואה, הוא ורוד כזה,
וואו.
והשפרצתי עליו מים, ואז צילמתי את זה מקרוב. בפייסבוק עשו לי סרטון, לא אני. זהו, ראית? כן.
Okay, so welcome, and here we are. We have two portions this week, Matot and Masei.
Okay.
And we're going to be finishing this book of Bamidbar, and we're going to be starting. So, let's talk about what is in this week's portion. We also have it's also Bein HaMetzarim since the 17th of Tammuz, where we started fasting. We have now 3 weeks where we are mourning. It ends with the 9th of where the temple was destroyed. So we'll talk a little bit about that afterwards. So the first thing in Parshat Matot is how Moshe gathers the heads of the tribes, and he teaches them the laws of the vows. Vows and oaths. And he does it first. He teaches the heads of the tribes, and then they instruct the entire Jewish people. So actually then he teaches everyone, so they learn it more than once. So he speaks to the heads of the tribes, and actually this was the procedure that he did, that Moshe would do with everything. He would teach Aaron and the heads of the tribes, and then he would instruct the people so they would hear it again.
It was Yisro's suggestion to him.
No, Yisro's suggestion was to make judge courts. To make
right,
courts,
but that was like going down the ladder.
Okay, so why are the heads of the tribes mentioned by the laws of vows specifically? If this is what he did, this is the way he did everything, so why specifically by the vows? So here he wants to teach us that only an expert Torah scholar can annul a vow. In other words, if somebody wants to make a hatarat nidarim, you want to annul the vow that you made, you have to go to somebody who's an expert Torah scholar, not just to anyone. Basically, we learn also that we have to be very careful with our words, because it says the words of the Chumash, it says whatever comes out of your mouth, you have to do. So you have to be so careful. That's why we always say bli neder, like you know, because he has to fulfill it. If he's obligated to fulfill it, if he says it. So if not, he's desecrating God's. So it says better not to vow than to vow and not fulfill.
Right.
If a young girl lives in her father's house, so she's subject to her father's authority, then he could annul her vow on the same day. There's a time limit. And זה מפריע לך שאני אוריד את זה?
לא, אני אשב שמה.
אוקיי, אני יכולה להרים את זה שנייה אם את רוצה. Now, after she gets married, so her husband can annul her vows, but only, again, there's like certain limitations. If it affects him and if it's the same day or whatever. Now comes the story of Midian, where we learned in the previous portion in Pinchas that the Midianites were the enemies of Israel because they caused them to sin. They brought all their daughters and they made them sin. So now before Moshe passes away, Hashem says to him, listen, you have to linkom, to get back at them, okay? Nekama.
Yeah.
And carry out...
return their deeds.
Well, Hashem says you have to, he wants them to get rid of, to kill them out. So now the question is, why only the Midianites? Why not the Moabite? The Moab also, they also sent their daughters. And the reason is because the Moab were actually afraid because they saw that they were coming to them and they were afraid that they were going to kill them. So they had a reason to fight. Whereas the Midianites mixed into something that wasn't theirs. They had absolutely no reason. It was only hate, pure hate. So they were worse. And another reason is that Ruth HaMoaviyah, Ruth came out of Moab, and Naamah from Ammon, and she married Shlomo Melech, King Solomon. So that is the reason that Hashem said only to take vengeance on Midian. So what does he do, Moshe? He takes 12,000 soldiers. In other words, there are 12 tribes. From each tribe, he takes 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And what does he want to show them? He wants to show them that it's not the amount of troops that go to fight that determine the victory or the defeat.
Yeah.
But it's, are you worthy or not? So if you're worthy, you can even have just 12,000. Zimri, one man, caused the death of 24,000 people without saying a word, just by his bad actions. And here, 12,000 soldiers will defeat many, many more Midianites. And it says they came back from the war, not one was lost. Not one. And usually there are casualties,
Mm-hmm.
even just a few is considered a victory, and here not one. Who is the one who leads this army? He told him, Pinchas. You started, you brought, calm down Hashem, you can finish.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was the one who led this war. Of course, they win the war. They burnt the cities. They kill all the males, the adult males, and the 5 kings of Midian. They kill them, and Bilam was also killed. And like, what's Bilam doing over there? Because Bilam came to get his money. He wanted to get paid, and he ended up getting killed by the sword, which is ironic because we said that he was going to kill the Jews with his mouth. And it says the mouth is the power of the Jew. And here everything turned upside down, and he ended up getting killed by the sword, which is his power, which is the... So they brought back all the spoils. Okay, they brought the women, they brought children, they brought the livestock, and jewelry, whatever it is that they brought back. Now Moshe gets very angry and he says, "What are you bringing the women here for? These women were the ones who caused them to sin.
Uh-huh.
What are you leaving them alive?" And so he told them that just leave the young girls that didn't sin yet, because those who were involved in immorality were killed. He also said that the soldiers have to stay outside of the camp and go through a ritual purification. They have to do the tefillah because they became ritually impure through contact with the dead. We know a person becomes impure when he has contact with the dead body. Elazar is Eliezer is the high priest. So he explains the laws for purifying all the spoils that were taken from the Midianites. There were metal utensils that had to be purified, this by fire, and some cannot stand by fire, they would get destroyed. So some have to be immersed in water, and only then can they use these vessels. So how did they split up these spoils? They were divided equally. In other words, half were given to the soldiers who fought, and half were given to the rest of the nation. 50-50. Okay? Now, the portion that the soldiers got, they gave 1 out of 500 to the priests, the Kohanim. The people gave 1 out of 50 to the Levites. Okay, so they gave Meiser from what they got. And the Torah tells us the specific quantities of how much livestock and how much of everything, and how many when it was divided, and it was divided so equally. It was also miraculous. And after they divided all this, and Moshe says, first of all, I just want to mention that the Torah tells us that the people didn't take any of the spoils for themselves, which they could have. They automatically donated it brought it to Moshe. And they said, here, it's an offering to God. We want to thank Hashem for we're such the gratitude for saving us and bringing us back safe, and not even one was lost in the battle. There's a very interesting talk that the Rebbe gave about these spoils. And he says that that we learn something very important. Torah is Horah, right? We have to learn something. So he tells us that success, it's not only achieving victory, but it's about using your blessings in the right way. So the fact that the spoils were divided evenly between the soldiers and the nation, first of all, it teaches that every person contributed, even those that went to war. Even though there's only 12,000 get half, and the rest of the nation, that is so many more people get half. So, okay, but they were sitting home and they were learning. That's part of, in other words, they contributed to the war, also to the success of the war. Sometimes their actions are behind the scenes, and sometimes, you're a partner in success doesn't necessarily mean you're on the front. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the portions that were given to the Kohanim and to the Levites teach us that the material blessings become holy when they're connected to Torah or to charity or to acts of kindness. And what the Lubavitcher Rebbe explains is that Midian represents Madon, division, conflict. And our mission is to overcome our inner struggles. We have the same inner struggles within us, and to transform our talents, our possessions, our resources into tools for holiness. Whatever Hashem gave us, whatever is in our possession, we have to use it for making it into something holy. What? So the
מדיין מסתכלת על האותיות, זה דינים.
din, right? And it's Madon. So the fact that they voluntarily offered the gold shows, first of all, shows gratitude, that you recognize that everything comes from Hashem, and you give it generously from the heart. Now, if you take it to yourselves, everybody, the lesson that we can learn from this, that every home has its own division of spoils. Everybody has, like the shalal, okay? And when Hashem blesses us with abundance, the question is, how do we use it? So do we spend it on ourselves? Or do we give charity generously? Do we help family members in need? Do we support the Rebbe Shluchim in the outreach programs? Do we strengthen the Torah institutions? Do we open our home to guests? Do we use our blessings in a way that the material things actually become holy? We turn the physical things holy because we're using them for a holy purpose. And so the Rebbe teaches us that
from bracha.
That's
Every
right.
time the water, when you bless,
that bracha means hamshachah. Okay. So he teaches that the purpose of all of our work is to make the physical world a dwelling place for Hashem. So every victory over our evil inclination adds another spoil to our holiness. Okay, we gain something. So when the whole world is transformed into a vessel for Hashem, we're going to have the complete redemption. That will be the redemption. That will be the Geulah. And it will become very clear that every resource, everything in this creation was intended from the beginning to serve Hashem. Everything in this world has its purpose towards. So we have to use our blessings to help others, to strengthen Jewish life, transform the physical world into a dwelling place for Hashem, meaning that first of all, preparing the world for the coming of Mashiach. But we said the word Golah. If you put the aleph is the or is alufo shel olam, is Hashem. So if you put Hashem into the world, it automatically becomes Geulah, like the world gets lit up. So Golah, Geulah.
I see it as the purpose of why God created man as he is, because God could have made a perfect world,
right.
but he gave us
The job.
the job to do it.
That's right. So
Makes sense.
That's right.
Otherwise, what purpose do we have?
And that's why we have the evil inclination, because otherwise we'd be robots. You have to overcome power. You have a choice, and you can choose to do good or you can choose not to.
I see it.
Okay, so now comes the Chalukat Haaretz. They divided the land, and the tribes of Gad, Reuven, and half of Shevet Menashe. They actually it was Reuven and Gad. Okay, tribes came over to Moshe and they said, "Do us a favor, and we have a lot of livestock, and the Me'ever LaYarden, on the other side of the Jordan River, like before you go into Israel, there's good land, and we would like to be on the east of the Jordan River. There's good grazing land, and it's good for our flocks." So Moshe gets very, like he says, 1 minute, this sounds just like the desert, the people of the desert that didn't want to go into Israel. Like they wanted to live a spiritual life, and the whole idea is actually to live in the physical. So he reminds them of the sin of the spies, and he says, what are people what's it gonna look like? They were punished because of it. They stayed 40 years in the desert. What do you think is gonna happen to you? Like maybe you're gonna maybe because of you they won't go into Israel again. Like he got scared. So they said, no, this is not our intention. On the contrary, we will. What we plan to do, he says, we're going to put our families and our flocks on this east side of the Jordan, but we will definitely cross the Jordan with our brothers, and we will fight. Not only will we fight Chalutzim, we're going to be first. And then after we win the war, we'll go back to our families on the east side of the Jordan. And Moshe says to them that if you don't, then it won't be good. But then we won't let you inherit it. In other words, Moshe is convinced that they have good intentions, and I'll soon explain to you what it means. Al pi Hasidut in a deeper insight, and it means like this: what did Reuven and Gad really want? Because when you think of it, like why would, in a spiritual way, how come Moshe was convinced that they had good intentions? So it says like this: the land of Israel is a very holy place, right? Because God gave it special holiness. Now, when you think that the closer something is to holiness, the more important it is.
And Moshe was buried around there.
Right. Oh, so that's another reason. But the Hasidus teaches us that a place that seems further away from the holiness has a hidden purpose. In other words, the physical world outside of the Holy Land is officially more distant from open godliness, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it has hidden sparks of holiness within it. And these small pieces of divine energy are waiting for us to elevate them, to discover them, to elevate them. How do you elevate them? Through doing good deeds and learning Torah and doing mitzvot.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, when you think about it, how the Rebbe sent his emissaries to every corner of the world to elevate these sparks and to bring back and to arouse the Jewish neshamas all over the place. So the tribes of Reuven and Gad, they had many animals, okay? And they said the east of the Jordan is excellent pasture land. But it wasn't because they didn't want to enter the land of Israel or to escape, any spiritual responsibility. They felt that their special mission was to bring holiness to a place that seemed more distant.
Mm.
And so they said, listen, we will build.
Like they will be the teachers to teach the Torah to.
Yeah, and that in the long run, it says that Hashem will extend the boundaries of Israel.
This is Chabad, the goal.
That's right. This is what the Rebbe said, 100%. So this is what he teaches us, that eventually it says Hashem yarchiv et gvulchem, that Israel is going to be wider, and that part of East Jordan will be part of the 10 umot, which we're going to. Here they conquered the Sheva umot, the 7 nations, but there are going to be 10 nations. There are another 3 nations which will be attached. But they did they laid down the foundation. So Moshe at first, he also reprimanded them because they said, first we'll build a fence for our cattle, and then we'll build cities for our children. And he said, first You worry about your children first before you worry about your cattle.
Mm.
So don't put the material things before the spiritual things. But they meant that we're going to take care of our physical needs, but our goal is to create a place where God can dwell. So we want to transform even a lower, ordinary part of the world into a home for Hashem. And again, the lesson for us is that a person's mission is not only to seek holiness, I want to be in a holy place. Sometimes our greatest purpose is to bring godliness to everyday life, in our homes, in our workplace, in our relationships, in our physical world around us. This is where we have to bring the holiness to. So when we use material things for a holy purpose, we are actually revealing the hidden.
To be in a place it's not so comfortable and make it better for others.
That's right. So you're revealing the hidden holiness inside. And this is the way this is your share in preparing the world for Mashiach.
Using the purpose.
That's your little Eretz HaKodesh, You're making it holy. Yeah. So when godliness is revealed everywhere, Mashiach comes out to be the Geulah. Anyway,
Bringing the light into the darkness.
Turning the darkness into light, that's the idea.
Well,
taking the dark. No, because sometimes you say you bring light and then the darkness disappears, right?
You cannot, one candle can remove all the darkness, right?
That's right.
But I'm saying it's like, the place is there dark, but as I'm coming, I'm bringing the light.
Right. That's right.
That's what I mean. I've said that many times.
So you're on the right track. So anyway.
And I did not know.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just.
So now you do it b'mechuvan, b'mudaut, not just intuitively.
Exactly.
Okay. So Moshe.
My life.
So Moshe tells Yoshua is going to be the one to lead the people into the land, because and it's interesting that all of a sudden we see that I told you about Reuven and Gad, and then it says Chatzi Shevet Menashe. Where did the half Shevet of Menashe come in from? Where so it says that Moshe, who Menashe was, the daughters of Tzlofchad that insisted on getting a piece of the land. They had this special love, the love for the land of Israel. So Menashe loved Israel. So he says half of Menashe should go with them and keep their eye on them, make sure that they don't change their mind and don't go astray, and make sure that that they keep on the path, and they're building cities for the cities. And then it says that Moshe says to them, build cities for your young, and then for your sheep. Don't make the ikar tafel and the tafel ikar. Don't make the important things secondary and the secondary important. So this was the first portion of Matot. And by the way, Mateh, sometimes a shevet is called a Mateh. Okay? What's the difference between a shevet and a Mateh? It's a stick.
Yeah.
Now, if the Mateh is a hard stick that's cut off from the tree.
Moshe was carrying it.
It's officially cut off from its lifeline. Now, as long as the stick is connected to its lifeline, it's soft. So it's interesting that when you cut off this branch, it suddenly gets this. It stiffens and it gets this tokef. In other words, that when you are in a difficult situation and it seems like you're away from the light of the Beis Hamikdash and you're in Galut, you're in diaspora, suddenly you get the power. It's a certain power to be able to withhold and to fight back. This hard stick is more powerful than the soft. So we going into the next portion of Masei. And here we talk about the journeys he goes through all the journeys of the wilderness. It's like saying we were here and we were there, and do you remember all the wonderful things that happened? Okay, some were wonderful, some weren't so wonderful. But the funny thing is that it says there were 42 journeys, Membet Masaot, during the 40 years. So the question is, first of all, why does he's finishing this is the end of the book of Bamidbar, the book of Numbers, and he's telling us about the 42 Masaot, the journeys that they did already, from when they left Egypt till Ramses, till they came to the entering the Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting thing is that that they it shows Chazdei Hashem. It shows God's mercy, because you think that throughout the 40 years of the desert they were just like traveling and traveling and traveling, and it turns out that from all these 42 stations they only traveled 20 times. Like there was one stop where they were there for 19 years. So they went back 8 stops when Aaron passed away, and they left Egypt on the 15th of Nisan, right? That was Pesach, while the Egyptians were burying their firstborn. That was the last plague. And they came to the plains of Moab by the Jordan River at the end. So these 42 stops from Egypt to the Promised Land, the Baal Shem Tov tells us that every soul, every Jew, goes through 42 journeys in his life, from birth
Wow.
to...
So I have to recognize my journey. And
42 journeys, Membet. Now,
wow.
okay, so the thing is like this, that the first question that Rashi asks is, it says journeys, Masei, that's like plural, right? That's a lot. How many Masaot do you have to leave Egypt? Just one, and then you're out of Egypt, and then it's already... So how come it says Ella Masei? It's only one Masa from Egypt till Ramses is one Masa, and then you're out of Egypt already, right?
Right.
So why does he say it in plural, Masei?
Because each and every
Physically you left Egypt once.
yeah,
right?
but
Then you went from Ramses to Sukkot, so it's out of Egypt. Yeah,
so are you asking the question?
I asked the question.
And I would say that as a nation we did one, but each individual did also.
Oh, so the Rebbe says something more than that. He says, לא, אבל זה רבים, it's plural, but Masei means plural. Okay, but still it should say one Masa. And the reason it doesn't is because every journey is actually taking you out of Mitzrayim. He explains that the deeper meaning of Mitzrayim is Meitzar, meaning a limit. Meitzaru gvul, you're bound.
Yeah.
A person is bound, and every day he has to leave his physical, the evil inclination. Will tell you don't do this, and there are many things that can stop you from doing. Like you wake up in the morning and you say, first of all, it could be old habits that hold you back. It could be negative thoughts. It could be selfishness. It could be fear. It could be anything that prevents you from reaching your potential and doesn't let you do what you're supposed to do. So it doesn't happen just once. It happens every time. And if today I overcome every day, that's what we... No, we say that it's one of the psukim. It's one of the psukim that we say, B'chol dor v'dor chayav. No, chayav adam lirot et atzmo כאילו הוא יצא ממצרים. But not only b'chol dor v'dor, b'chol yom v'yom. And every day a person has to see to it that as if he's leaving Egypt. So it happens not only once, it happens throughout our entire life. And every time we grow, every time we learn something new, every time we become closer to Hashem, we realize that the level that we were at before was sort of an Egypt. It was sort of limited in comparison to our new abilities, to where we are today. We're not where we were yesterday. Yesterday we thought we were in a good place, but now we see that yesterday was actually limited in comparison.
So it's not necessarily a land that is considered Mitzrayim,
Right.
but attitude and
It's going out of your own Mitzrayim.
yeah,
It's like a personal journey.
yeah.
and you have to leave your limitation. So yesterday you struggled to be patient, and today you could be more patient, but now you have a new challenge to overcome. Every day it's a new challenge. Sometimes it could be the same. You say yesterday I overcame it, and today I have to, deal with it again.
Here,
Yeah.
I was having a feeling of some kind of disturbance because I have my accountant, and I'm having a hard time with him, and I came to realize that I'm afraid of him. For some reason, I don't know. It's hard for me to be connected to him, like.
Okay.
So I end up thinking, as I was coming here, and realizing what is disturbing me. And I said, I'm really feeling afraid. So I said, what am I afraid about? And I'm realizing that I am dealing with the government of America, and he is like holding the whip. And that's what is the reason that I feel the way I feel.
Okay.
And then I said to myself, nothing is forever stays. And I released it,
So it says, yesterday's achievements become today's starting point for greater growth. So what we accomplished yesterday will help us today overcome our journey for today. So the Torah says that journeys, plural, because leaving Egypt is a lifelong process. It doesn't stop. In every stage of our life, we have new challenges, and we have to leave behind our old limitations, and we have to move towards greater potential, and to realize that Hashem gave us the potential, but we have to use it. We have to find it within ourselves. So this is what this is what the first Rebbe of Chabad taught us. This is what we learned in Tanya, that a Jew is always on a journey. He's constantly moving from a smaller version of himself to a greater version of himself. He's like revealing more divine soul from within. Okay, it's all within, but he reveals it, and he realizes. Okay, there's an interesting thing, like among all the journeys. So the Torah singles out one major event, and that is the death of Aharon, which was in the 40th year. And it was on the first Rosh Chodesh Av. It was the first day of the month of Av. He was 123 years old. And the Torah hints that after Aharon passed away, so there was no more clouds, because the clouds were in his honor. And so Amalek suddenly stood up and said, oh, now we can attack the Jews because, there's no more Haganah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they thought. Anyway, Hashem tells Moshe to deliver a very important message, and to get rid of all those idol worshippers in the land, and to destroy all their idols. And if they don't do it, it's going to be a source of suffering for the Jews in the long run. And it's better to get rid of it now. And then Hashem defines the borders of the land of Israel. And he, that they're going to conquer. It takes 7 years to conquer the land and 7 years to settle. And the territory is going to be inherited by the remaining 9.5 tribes, because 2.5 are going to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
They already got their inheritance. And it's nice to know that they actually did more than they were intended. Like Moshe said, after you conquer the land, go back. And they stayed till they settled. They stayed another 7 years. So anyway, Moshe, before, Hashem appoints the leaders that are going to oversee the distribution of the land. And there was Elazar, the high priest, and Yoshua ben Nun. They led the process, and they had the Nasi from every tribe. And the Torah lists, the Nasi'im of every tribe. And the only one who didn't get a territory that didn't inherit was Levi, the Levites. And their primary role is to serve in the sanctuary in the Beis HaMikdash. So they were given cities to live in with pasture lands like around, and they had 48 cities were given to them. Within these 48 cities, there were 6 cities of refuge, which the Torah describes. What does it mean? What's the city of refuge? The
Somebody,
Ir Miklat.
yeah,
That if somebody killed
right.
unintentionally,
like
like Eilat, yeah. תמיד אומרים זה מתת. So if it was accidental, okay, it wasn't intentional, so he's not liable for capital punishment, and the nearest relative of the victim might want to avenge his blood, so he might, so in order not to be able to take revenge, he can run to this city of refuge. There were 6 of them, and they had signs, this way. Somehow we say it's like the Chabad houses where it says Arei Miklat, like when a person has a headache or something, Divrei Torah koltim. So the Torah is like a
refuge.
It's like a refuge. So the Chabad houses have the signs on them, this way. You help the Jews, show them the way to the city of refuge. So there were 3 east of the Jordan River, and there were 3 in the land of Israel. And they were able to run to these cities. They would live there until the high priest would pass away.
Yes.
And the Torah also gives us details of many laws about murder, manslaughter, legal testimony, and the administration of justice. Then we're told about the daughters of Tzalafchad, that they married within their tribe because they received land. They inherited their father's estate because he had no sons.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the people of their tribe were worried because if these women marry other tribes, so their inherited land was going to pass on to another tribe. So Hashem tells Moshe to tell these women only in this situation, like that they married they married their own tribe, and so that they should remain with their inheritance. And they married their cousins in the tribe. So this is the portion. I wanted to mention something about the 3 weeks, and we say that the 3 weeks are a time of mourning. And the question is, why are we mourning for 3 weeks? The whole idea of mourning, what are we mourning? We're mourning the destruction of the temple. The destruction of the temple happened on the 9th of Av. So why are we starting to mourn when just the walls were broken? Okay? In other words, it didn't happen yet. The house is still standing. So why are we have enough time to, we'll mourn on the 9th of Av? Why should we mourn for 3 weeks? And it's interesting. I heard something very nice, that what is a wall? When does a person build up walls? It's to protect himself, to hide something. Either he's hiding something or is he protecting. Now, when you have a city that has a wall, you know that they're weak, because a city that doesn't have a wall, they're not afraid. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it says that Yerushalayim with a wall shows that it's not Yerushalayim Hashlema. It's not, because it's sort of, so in other words, the wall was broken. It's like a kav hagana,
the first defense.
The first defense is broken. Now it says that Prazot Teshev Yerushalayim, that when Yerushalayim should be without walls, right? That's when it's going to be, when Mashiach comes. Also it says, Ani eyeh lechomat esh saviv. Hashem says he will be the wall of fire.
Right.
Won't let anybody enter. Now just think about it. When a person goes to therapy, okay, so they try and find to break down the walls and to get to the person himself and say, okay, now you can rebuild yourself. In other words, you have to break him down and reach a breaking point in order that you can rebuild yourself. And the same is true with the Holy Temple, that it had to be broken in order to be rebuilt, because Hashem is saying, you're going to get a better house, I'm going to build you something even better. And he shows, we read the Haftarah of Yirmiyahu, where Hashem shows him makel shel shaked, like an almond, and makel. Think about it. Also, the stick of Aaron grew into a shaked. So the beginning of the fruit is very very bitter,
Mm.
and then when it
The
becomes
seed
the
itself.
seed are very bitter, then they become sweet, right? And so he
The
says the fruit. So he says that that you he shows him a mateh. In other words, remember we said that a stick has this tokef that you become stronger when you have to stand and fight when you're not connected. So here we are in the diaspora, sort of disconnected, and suddenly we find that we have this
Energy.
what would the word be? Resourcefulness. You have this perseverance, and and you have the strength.
Yeah.
I'm just going to end off with a story of. I'm sure you heard about Rabbi Zusha Elimelech, Noam Elimelech, Rabbi Zusha Melezins. He was a very special chassid, and somebody came to the Maggid of Mizrich and said, it says that you're supposed to bless Hashem for the good, just bless him for the bad, just like you bless him for the good. And he says, how can you thank Hashem for the bad, just like you're thanking him for the good? He said to him, go to visit Reb Zusha. So he went to visit Reb Zusha, and he sees, what, a house, a straw bed, nothing, no furniture, no nothing. And he said to him, the Maggid sent me to ask you, how can we bless Hashem for the bad, just like we bless for the good? He says, I don't know why he sent him to me. He says, nothing bad ever happened to me. He didn't recognize anything bad. Everything's good. So we have to always look with a good eye and know that whatever Hashem does is for the good. And the fact that there was the destruction of the temple is definitely for the purpose of rebuilding. And it's like,
you cannot build a better place unless you destroy the first.
That's right.
The occupied place cannot be rebuilt on.
There's no question about it.
Yeah.
And also, like, if you want to change your attitude, you have to clean your head from all bad thoughts, and then fill it up with positivity.
And baby doesn't know that he's living in a poor place.
That's right.
As long as he's being loved, he doesn't have any other needs.
Yeah, right. So, Banim atem Hashem Elokechem, we're the children of Hashem, and we feel Hashem with us. So it doesn't matter wherever we go, we're watching over us. And so hopefully this is the last
and I think
year of exile. And now the day of Tisha B'Av is the day that Mashiach was born. And it's the day that will turn into Sason v'Simcha. It's going to be a happy day. It will be a very happy day. And I'll tell you something else. Rabbi Akiva was walking together with the Tanaim, and they saw the destruction of the Beit HaMikdash, and they saw shualim, they saw foxes running around, and they started crying. And Rabbi Akiva laughed. And they said, what are you laughing about? He says, what are you crying about? Mm-hmm. So they said, we're crying about the destruction. And he said, that's exactly why I'm laughing, because till I saw this destruction, I didn't know that the actual rebuilding will happen. The actual redemption will come. The prophecy of the good will happen. But now that I see that this came true, I'm so positive that the good will come true. So that's why I'm laughing. Right. So what we see now is definitely a process, and we're closer. We're actually very, very close. And
instead of looking at the loss, I understand what I have the understanding of it, that